Hi, this is Mike Peterson from Challenge Island, Oakland County East, back with our Steamtastic Friday. We're in the middle of our car series right now on Challenge Island. So over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about some of the science that makes cars move and also some of the very cool technology that makes cars possible. Today, we'll talk about engineering in cars, and in particular, what kinds of engineering would you need to go into someday if you think you might be interested in working on cars. The good news is there are a lot of different engineers who work on cars. So today we're just going to show you a few of those and some of the cool work they get to do every day. So first one we can start out with is mechanical engineers. So mechanical engineers in general work on pretty much anything that moves. So that can be motors, machines, cars, trains, boats, anything like that. So for sure, when it comes to the robotics, for example, that put the cars together, the engines inside the car that makes them move, mechanical engineers are all over that. So if you think you enjoy that part of a car, you might want to check out mechanical engineering someday. Another popular kind of engineering for cars is electrical. Now, if you saw our video from last week, we talked a little bit about the technology that goes into autonomous cars. In other words, that makes cars so they can drive by themselves someday. Electrical engineers are all over that. So pretty much any kind of device you see on this picture has electrical engineers involved in it. So for example, LiDAR is kind of like radar with light, where they bounce light off of things and then send it back to the car so the car can figure out where it's at. Electrical engineers work on that to figure that out. The cameras to bring pictures into the car so the car knows what's going on around it fit into that as well. Radar, sensors, all those kinds of things. Anything involving electricity moving around or electricity and computer chips, electrical engineers have a big part in making those parts of cars work. So those are two of the more common ones. There's also several other kinds of engineers that are really important to make cars possible. So for example, chemical engineers. Now normally when you think of chemical engineers, they work with chemicals. So we use chemicals in all kinds of everyday processes like food, gasoline, all those kinds of things. But when it comes to cars, a couple really important things that chemical engineers work on are the materials. So when you feel in a car and feel that smooth plastic finish or feel that seat that's nice and smooth, chemical engineers have a role in making sure those materials do exactly what they're supposed to do. Also, too, when it comes to painting cars, there's a lot of important chemistry involved to make sure that the paint goes on safely, to make sure it's nice and sturdy. So if your car ever gets a rock thrown at it, or when it's driving around, to make sure the rust doesn't get into it, chemical engineers are the ones to thank for making sure that paint lasts for a nice long time. Another type of engineer that's important is environmental engineers. So you might wonder, where does that fit in? Because environmental engineers, of course, would work with the environment. But since we build cars in big car plants that are all around the world, electric or environmental engineers need to be a big part of that. So for example, here, this is a plant in Lansing, Michigan. And if you look around the outside, it's actually in a really nice nature area with some wetlands, lots of animals live around it. So environmental engineers were an important part of building this plant to make sure that all the animals would still have a place to stay, to make sure all the water stays healthy, all the air stays healthy around the plant. So that's a very important function that helps to make car plants possible. A couple more we can do. Industrial engineers, they're the kind of engineers that in general work with how people interact with engineering. So if you've got people that have to work together to put the cars together, so industrial engineers will help you figure out, okay, who needs to do which job so that car can get put together well every single time you do it. So when we organize those people around the plant, industrial engineers are a big part of making that work. And then finally, one that captures a lot of what goes into cars is manufacturing engineers. So some colleges don't call it manufacturing engineering. It might be part of mechanical or even industrial. But if you go into manufacturing engineering, that'll help you figure out everything that goes into building stuff. So you would learn about robots, you learn about machinery that goes into a plant, how to build an assembly line so that you can put the cars on it and have them roll down there and get built as they move from station to station. So manufacturing engineering is a really exciting job. So if you think you'd be interested in building things, that might be one to check out. So lots of different engineers are involved. So if you're a younger person, you don't need to choose right now today which kind of engineering to go into. A couple things though that all those engineers have in common would be some of these. So for example, engineers like to solve problems. For example, how do I build a car? How do I make the car go faster? How do I make it use less energy? How do I put a battery in it and make it work? So if you think those would be fun questions to work on, you'd probably be a good engineer someday. Other things engineers do, that they build things and they improve things, so they make them better. So if you like to do that kind of thing, so if you see gadgets and machines around your house and think, I think that could be done a little bit better, that's a good sign of an engineer also. Other things that engineers usually like to work on, they have fun with math, they enjoy working with science, and they also enjoy communicating. So that's a big word to say that they enjoy talking with people, because when it comes to building a car, it takes thousands of engineers to work together to make that happen. So all those engineers need to communicate with each other. So they need to know how to talk, they need to know how to brainstorm, how to work as a team. So if you like doing those kinds of things, that's a good sign you'd be a good engineer someday as well. All right, so next time you're thinking about, what would I like to do someday when I grow up? Think about engineering and think about cars or some of the other fun devices that are out there. And that might be a really fun job you'd enjoy doing someday. All right, with that, thank you so much, and we'll see you again next time.